Okay, now you record, yeah. All of these four paths, they lead more or less, and that is very important, through the elemental world. At the time of Rudolf Steiner, only two paths were accessible. That was the path, or the path to the door of the sun and to the door of death. The path to the door of elements was more or less closed, and the path to the door of light was not yet open. So the path that Rudolf Steiner then recommended was the path to the door of the sun. And this is mostly based on using the etheric body. So almost all exercises that was prescribed by him had more or less to do with becoming aware of or mastering or understanding the etheric. That is why so many aspects that he gave was founded on an understanding of the etheric, both in building, in art, in medicine, in pedagogic, in agriculture, was based on the etheric. The other three paths are not at that much based on the etheric. One is based more on astral, one is based more on the elemental, and one is based more on the Christ consciousness, or the I, the Christ I within our I. So those who have not trained very much of the etheric, as that mean non-anthroposophists, they suddenly, to my amazement, seem to have, it is easier for them to walk the elemental path, because this elemental path, or the elemental kingdom, or the elemental body was, and Rudolf Steiner said several times, I cannot describe this yet. This is not accessible yet. And he said to Johanna von Keyserlingk in straight words that this path is today, that is 1915 or something, too dangerous and inaccessible for most people. So we have, and that's why we last time, the most important exercise was to be aware of the difference between the astral body, the etheric body, and the elemental body, and the material body for that matter, and also, of course, the I organization. So in a way, 5 different aspects of our entire being. So we have, and one of the most significant differences between an etheric exercise and an elemental exercise is that in the etheric, one of the main laws of the etheric is this going into something and then receiving a rickshaw, a view, an image, and that come back. can be seen, one exercise in the complementary color, for example. So this is, and also with plants, you study the plant in all details, and then you get a imagination back, which is then an etheric imagination. You see the etheric structure of the plant. Which is spiral, like Goethe's, what's it called in English? Urpflanze, original plant. So anthroposophists who have been working with these exercises, they have a certain difficulty in going into the elemental, because in the elemental, we go into a thing like Rudolf Steiner described in his lecture in Helsinki, 3rd of April 1912, that we go into the blue of the sky or the green of the pastures or the white of the snow, and then we do not get this counter image. Counter image, yeah, okay, counter image. But we go through. And when we go through, it seems to dissolve. And then we are, when this happens, when it dissolves, we are in the elemental world. So this is what we tried to train last time. We went into the astral of the hand and lifted this hand. We went into the life force, the etheric of the hand, and lifted this etheric. And then we went into the structure of the hand. And then we came into the elemental body, the elemental structure of the hand, because the elemental is actually the structure of everything. When we observe then the life forces, we get into a medicine that supports life forces. If we go into the elemental, we see the elemental beings, the demons, the pathological elemental beings, how they create the disease. So this is two very different aspects of life, the etheric and the elemental. So now I must ask you, those who have been training since last time, have you managed to get a deeper experience or view or experience of the difference between the etheric and elemental? Those are the two most important to be aware of the difference. Not so much the astral, that is not so important in this matter. Yes, have anybody managed to differ between these two bodies?
Dear friends, do you know how to raise your hand? Right? It's React. Yeah. Okay, Sophia. I'm sorry, Timo. Timo is first.
Okay. So can you hear me?
Yes, yes, you do.
Okay, good. Yeah, so yeah, I think when I started doing this exercising regularly, I usually started by kind of trying to go down, so to speak, so to get a kind of go feel of what's the astrality of myself, and then go deeper, like what does my elemental etheric being, how does it kind of feel, and then go into the structure, what's my form kind of elemental being like, and then from kind of that point try to then fade out from that experience. I'm not sure how effective it was, but at least like I have been getting some. I have been making some progress in the fading practice, but I'm not sure kind of if the direction I'm going is completely right.
Well, then you will see if it is right, if the thing sort of start to dissolve and move. That is
I,
the the reaction from the world when you go into the elemental. It starts to move. Elemental beings always move.
so I usually like try to shift between objects, but what I mostly use is just the black wall, and if I kind of concentrate and try to fade into that, there is this kind of movement, very unclear, like fuzzy kind of, and eventually I get into this point where there seem to be kind of like clouds or something, like that should pulsate between two, some like colors, but not quite colors. And I'm like thinking, and then it stops kind of there. I see this central area that goes between dark and light, and
So you have faded into a dark wall.
uh, light wall, white wall.
White wall, yes. A white wall.
Mhm.
Okay.
Uh,
This movement is very the movement that you should be looking for is very concise. It starts really to move, and not only the thing, it starts to move often around. Also, the floor starts to move, the wall starts to move, everything starts to move, because when you use one thing to get into the elemental, and then you are into the elemental, of course, then that includes also everything else around you. The air, the water, the other walls, the roof, the floor, and so on.
so it's kind of stepping into this elemental space, so to speak.
Elemental world,
Element world, yeah.
space,
Yeah.
world, yeah. And of course that frightens many immediately. Rudolf Steiner say that fear is actually one of the main hindrances in going into the spiritual. Why did he say fear? Of course, because when you meet the spiritual, there is something else. There is something we are not used to, and we get a little frightened. When everything around you starts to move, of course you get frightened. Or most get frightened. First time, and then after some times, it took me maybe 6, 7 years not to get frightened. And I wrote in my diary in 1962 or 63 that I have to get rid of this fear. And my simple method of getting rid of the fear was I stood up midnight. We lived up in the forest. So I went into the forest in the total darkness. It was autumn. And then I said loud, if there is anything to fear, come now and take me or stay away. And then I stood waiting and nothing came. And I went home to my bed. I didn't tell my parents. But after that, it was vanished. You have to do something with that fear. It stopped me for years.
You just keep practicing.
Yeah, and get rid of the fear. You have no, and this fear is, of course, the fear of, in how I see it, as this sort of fear of dying. Because going into the spiritual is, in a way, like dying. You know, if you had been sitting in a chair and then suddenly everything around you started to move, you would think, oh, I got a brain.
Yeah. But I'm kind of, is it possible to kind of when you try to fade out and you get, can you actually like, I kind of get, I would say stuck, or I get this feeling that I can't go further anymore. I have this like this, the physical world has kind of dimmed to some extent,
Well,
and there is,
that is just in your that you stop yourself then.
yeah, so
You have not to be afraid. You just go into this moving thing, this moving world, and not being afraid of dying and not being afraid. That is what Steiner said. First thing that stop you is the fear. If you overcome the fear, the next thing that stop you is doubt. Because then you go deeper into this and you see this elemental being, and then you doubt, am I crazy? Is it possible? And of
is it
course, then that
real?
stops you. Yeah, it is
Yeah,
real. And then the third thing Steiner said is hate. Um, very few experience hate, but more as sort of don't want to be there, which can be described as a sort of hate, antipathy, you might say.
yeah,
And these everybody will meet.
thanks.
Okay. Anybody else
Yeah,
who
Sophia is waiting.
yeah, Sophia is waiting. Where is Sophia?
Sophia, go ahead.
Thank you.
There,
Um,
Sophia.
so then that was very interesting hearing what you were saying to Timu. That answered a few questions. When I've been practicing, I feel like I've been. It feels easy to move the etheric body. At least I feel like it's like compared to the. That's like lifting up a feather compared to lifting up a big heavy weight or something when I'm trying to move the elemental body. And what's interesting what you said about doubt, because I keep thinking, oh, I'm sure I must be doing this wrong, or is this movement what the right sort of movement, or is it just what I mean, I've always had that if I stare at a blank wall, had this impression that there was movement before I was doing any exercises, and I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, well, that's what happens if you stare at a blank, with something. I didn't know. I just thought maybe everyone experienced that. So yeah, I feel like I'm not. Yeah, I've got a lot of unsureness about how I'm doing, and the elemental body feels so hard. It feels so hard, but I can feel the astral warmth and tingling from the etheric and the elemental. I think, oh my gosh, where am I doing? So maybe it's just doubt that's getting in the way, or I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be open and see. You have to go there and see what happens. And yes, the elemental body is very powerful, very powerful. If you can master the elemental body, you can lift a ton.
It feels like lifting a ton, honestly. I'm
Yeah.
trying to do it.
So again, is it the doubt or the fear that is stopping you?
I think doubt. I think it's doubt, to be honest. I'm not
Yeah,
feeling fear particularly. It's just,
that's good. Fear is
it's,
usually the first. Doubt, maybe you have a step further than is doubt.
well, I
Or,
don't know.
or the doubt comes
That's what
first.
rings a bell for me. That makes me think, yeah, yeah, it is. It's constantly thinking,
Yeah,
oh, I'm not doing it right. I'm making no progress. Maybe I can't do it. Yeah, that's what but I don't know. Maybe
mm,
there's like, who knows whether I am doing it right? I don't
yeah.
know.
Try to let go of that
Mm.
doubt and see where you get.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Lane is next.
Thank you so much. I wanted to relate an experience that I had with the skeletal hand when I was practicing on the elemental body. I went out with my hand, and my elemental hand went out to the tree, and then I brought it back. And as was instructed in the last practicum, not to go beyond, where it starts to get cloudy or you feel a shimmering. And then I tried going out and did go out through my thorax and my chest area, and it went out in the form of a cross, a light cross. And I went back to the tree. And all of a sudden, the tree exploded into a multiplicity of elemental beings that were just alive and strong. And then I retracted myself back. And I felt, I mean, it was also spontaneous and quick, but I was very, very tired afterwards. It that but I recovered well the next day. It was not a problem, but I felt like it took something out of me to do that. And then my second experience was with, I was a little sick, but I was doing the candle exercise. And all of a sudden, all these little salamander or little beings exploded out, and they came towards me and they started to move around my field of energy. And some of them were quite large. It's almost like I had touched upon the genius or the genre of that species. And they were very different from other elementals. But and I didn't experience any loss of energy as I had before. It seemed a little bit easier. But those were my most, noted experiences.
Thank you. I will do a few comments because and it seems that you have developed or moved very fast because in the beginning, in the first time, you get exhausted. And some people, they do not get over that stage their whole life. They get exhausted and they sort of abandon it. But if you and why you get so exhausted, I do not know, but almost everybody feel that in the beginning. And then it becomes the opposite. Then you actually get energy from being in the elemental world.
Oh, good.
So then you get actually very energized by being there. And the other thing I want to comment is, we trained on this arm, like you said also, the skeleton hand. That is just a training. Because when you go out, you should go out from somewhere between the throat and the heart. Some feel that the heart is better. Some you can go from the throat. Personally, I go from in the middle. This throat, what do you call that in English? Throat hole we have here.
Collarbone.
Yeah, just above the sternum. So that is actually where you can go far. The first is an exercise, and then you start from here and go out. That is my two comments on what you said, but it looks very correct what you say. And the next thing that maybe stops you, I said this first thing that stops you is fear, doubt, and hate. But the next thing that stops you, that is to engage in what you experience, because then you stop there. I call it sometimes to make a concept. When you see the salamanders, you think, oh, salamanders, that is a concept. And then you stop yourself. Until next time, then you can go a little further, but you don't have to go 1 millimeter each time. If you drop the concept and only concentrate on the perception, then you can actually go further and further and further and further for a long time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Joanna.
Yeah. Hi, Are.
Hello.
Hello. So here's the thing. Before we started doing because I just watched your first workshop the other day, so I started trying to do this thing of going out here, and I'm not sure really how people do that. So I wanted to ask, is it by imagination, whatever? Because before we started doing this separation of the etheric and the elemental going out with the separate bodies, I was having experiences like you were saying. You go on a focusing on a clear wall, on a light colored wall, and going in and all these colors and all these sometimes even faces. I was already having all that, and then now you mentioned something about we're actually using our etheric to go in, so you have to use your elemental. So now my question is, so now I have to kind of retract and really make a difference between the two, because what happens when you go in with your etheric, I think I get all these colors, I could keep going probably, but now I want a clarification. What happens if we do that and just keep going without thinking about our elemental? And otherwise, how do you imagine? I mean, do you use your imagination to understand your elemental hand or your body? Because I tried doing that. The only way I could get an idea of it was I swim. And the other day I was swimming, I was thinking, come on, show me my structural, my blueprint. And then my swimming it went so strong. So that, then I had an idea, oh, maybe that is a thing that I have to imagine. And that is and I couldn't feel anything else. I couldn't feel tired. I was just focusing on the picture of the blueprint, of my bones, of the movement, of all that. So I'm just saying that's how far I've gone with differentiating the two. So I'm not sure where I'm at, but it's very different from before, where you're just looking and you're just going and not thinking about different bodies. And thanks for saying that. If you've been practicing anthroposophy, it's harder for us, because when you see people going, ooh, you think, wow, what are they doing? And what am I not doing? So that's a...
So what I hear your question is about the difference between an imagination and being there in reality. Is that some sort of what you asked? Yeah. You see, that is why this training with the hand and this to train with another person, because when you go into the astral and you really lift the astral hand out, the material is lying still, but you lift the astral and you touch another person, they usually feel something. And when you do the etheric, they feel something very different. And this repeats itself. This is not by chance. This repeats itself. And the elemental, a third thing. So you see, that is the training to do it. If you just had an imagination of it, it wouldn't happen anything to the other person. when I hit that tennis ball, which I think I told about last time, my tennis opponent wouldn't have felt the difference, and so on. That is, for me, the main difference between just an imagination and reality. Reality is real. Somebody feels something. Something happen. And to do that, you also, it is very, though, have any of you seen a film called Ghost with Whoopi Goldstein and somebody else? It is a dead person who tried to save his girlfriend who's alive. And then he trained on moving physical things. And it's impossible because as long as you just have an imagination of it. But when he put in the will, the power, and that is, of course, the elemental body who could move things, then he was able to move things. And I remember my teacher in this, it was a Hungarian doctor, a very well-known doctor. He trained on moving things on the table because he went into the elemental body and moved things. Real, also kinesio, yeah, what is the Latin of that, moving things? He could move, and he could put the lamp that hang in the ceiling to swing, and that was his training. And you cannot do that when you go in either in the astral or the etheric, or only in imaginations. So that is why you have to be there, and you go out not in imagination, but of course to have an imagination helps you. When I want to talk to somebody who don't see me, then I sort of have an imagination, I talk, and so it might help, but that is not enough by itself. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So Bob, person? Bob?
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
So with my sensing and moving my etheric hand, it feels like I've got a glove on about 3 inches outside of my hand. And so I really feel that. And it's not very difficult. But one of the interesting things about that experience is that because I time it, to stay with the exercise for the 4 minutes that you mentioned last time. And my experience of it is that the time on that part of the exercise goes more quickly. That's my sense of it. When I move out from this,
let me ask you. You say that when you are in the etheric, the time goes faster?
It seems that way, yes.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Go on.
And when I do the other exercise and I get to the point where I move out from the middle area, and I go about 10 feet and I can see this shimmering movement. And yeah, it's there and it doesn't take so long. And I tried to stay with it, for a bit. So that's pretty standard. I don't have much trouble getting there. And more recently, I've noticed that I take walks after work, and of course now with the sunset getting sooner, I notice where I'm walking in the woods, there is some light that comes through, and with that light, when I look at it, sometimes they're looks like there's pixelated light where there's the shimmering, which I've mentioned. I'm not even trying, that there's the light seems pixelated, like there's this large area of pulsating like pixelated light where the pixel might be like 2 or 3 inches wide, and it sort of vibrates. And so I stop and I try to look into that, but it's quite distinct. At first I thought maybe it was like some optical thing, but I have to believe that it's connected to the progress that I made with seeing this movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody in the beginning doubts, and the doubt is this something in my eye? Is there something optical? That is what most people make doubt. When I was when I was 12, 13 years, I had this period where I saw these elemental beings in the air. And I was sitting inside and I said to my father, "It is raining." "No, it's not raining." And I was so sure it was raining. So I went out and no, it was not rain. Went in again, looked out, it was raining. So I had no idea what this was at that age. But this is when you fade into the air. And a friend of mine in England, he was trying to go into, I don't remember what, but then he saw the elemental beings of the air, and that stopped him, sort of disturbed his progress for a long time. He was actually to go into water, but he stopped at the air. So these are many sort of things you have to consider on the path. This path is very manifold and many-faceted. You will experience things that you had no idea and did not expect. But all the time you have to be without fear and without doubt. You have to believe it. It is not an optical thing. Of course, sometimes you really, even I, today, I think, is this optical? Is there something wrong with my eyes? But you have to let these things go. And you see, if there is just a mistake or some optical, then it will not lead to anything.
Right.
So
The part that I saw in the woods, does
yeah.
that seem reasonable? I don't know if that's the right word.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
And they were squares.
Yeah. Yeah. The best I could approximate it. Yeah.
Yeah. That is halfway actually to the threshold.
Halfway to the threshold?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Halfway.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Hong is next.
Hello. Hi, Are. I want to share with you my experience about the exercise last time. And I followed your instruction with my friend. Both of us are studying eurythmy now, so we're kind of sensitive about something. And for me, I think the astral body, that lifting out my astral hand, my friend, because he's more sensitive than me, so he told me about it's very quick when I lift up my astral body to him. And then when I try to lift up my etheric body, it's kind of took a little bit long time. And for me, I felt that kind of the union, that kind of me and him kind of become a union when I lift up my etheric body to him. And he actually, he told me in one moment he couldn't recognize it is his hand or my hand.
Mm.
So this is my experience about that two things. And for me, I think this elemental body is really, I want to ask you this thing, because I also learned anthroposophy for so many years, and this astral elemental body is really didn't really mentioned by Steiner that much. So for me, it's very hard to imagine there is a elemental body kind of holds the structure of the body, because Steiner talked about this etheric body already gives the forms, kind of shapes the physical body. I don't know why there's another kind of the thing in between the etheric body and physical body. We need to have this elemental body. So it's very hard for me to lift up this elemental body, because I somehow I just feel like, what is that? Because if I'm thinking this one, for example, when I try to do the exercise with my etheric body, I really focus on my life forces. So I know these life forces can lift up. But then because I'm always kind of trained or train myself to imagine this etheric body also shapes the physical body. So if
Well,
the or
that it does. No, it does not. It is the elemental body who is sort of the blue copy. That is the structure of the body. That is the elemental body.
what do you mean by structure? If the is that a shape
Well,
or something?
structure is how the bones look like, how the blood vessels look like, how the nerves look like, how they go. That is the structure. The muscles.
But why this is not by etheric body? So etheric body, I thought etheric body also help to shape, give the shape of the physical body.
Yeah, it gives a life,
Not shape, you mean?
not the shape.
But in eurythmy, we always talk about this formative force of etheric body. So
I know.
for
I
me, I'm
know.
always feel like they're the form.
I know. And that is a problem because in anthroposophy, you say physical body, and then you sort of, that is all you say. And then you say etheric body, astral
Yeah.
body. But there is this elemental body that I'm very glad that Steiner mentioned it sometimes. He knew about it, but he couldn't talk about it because at that time, the elemental world was dangerous and closed.
Okay. So, but think about all his main idea in theosophy, talk about this sevenfoldness, nonfoldness of the human being. So the elemental body is not included. So how can we really kind of put that in? Yeah, he always mentioned about physical body, etheric body, astral.
Yeah, but you see, physical body, and Judith von Halle, she actually solved that problem. She said the elemental body is the physical body, but it's not the material body.
Okay. But Steiner also, when he talked about the physical body, he also mentioned we can use our senses to see it, we can use our senses to feel the physical body.
He said the physical body is really covered by thick veils. It's very hidden, but it contains deep mysteries. That is the physical body, and the physical is not the material. And
Okay.
when you start to study the resurrection body, Christ, after death,
Mm-hmm.
after the crucifixion, he could eat with his disciples. They could feel his wounds, and then he could go straight through the wall.
Oh,
So he was physical and not physical, and that is the elemental.
okay.
And that
So,
was one of the main discussions between Judith von Halle and Sergei Prokofiev, because Prokofiev, who had studied almost everything Steiner had said, he claimed that the resurrection body was sort of a condensed etheric body. And Judith von Halle, who could see into spiritual, she said, no, that is not so. That is a transformed elemental body.
mm,
And they discussed that for many years. very fiercely.
So that means we're saying something wrong in eurythmy. We talk about this etheric bodies, a formative. This force is actually from elemental body.
That's why I said it's difficult. If you have studied the etheric as an anthroposophist, it's difficult to include the physical body, which is also spiritual, because it is not discussed enough. And Steiner said many times, I cannot go into this now, and that was very often when it was in connection with the elemental.
Okay, so when we do this exercise, I just try to focus on this structure, this form, right, of our body. This
Yes.
is belongs to elemental body, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do this next time because somehow I just stuck there. I just couldn't do this exercise, this elemental bodies.
And just what we have discussed now, that is one of the main problems for anthroposophists to go this elemental path.
Okay.
Because they slip over in the etheric.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Yeah, maybe this is also the reason because I followed you long time ago and tried to go through this elemental world, and what I could only get is just I could see all this movement, kind of the smoke-like movement, and also and then I could saw some actually some darkness, kind of darkness movement, kind of feel like there's something there, but I just couldn't go through.
Mm.
Okay, I'll just continue on my work. Thank you.
Okay. Very important discussion.
Yeah, Ari, but Rudolf Steiner mentioned phantom of human being, which we cannot call spiritual, but like physical. But later, phantom includes physical elements of Earth.
Yeah.
So it's becoming sense perceptible and tangible.
And that also is the foundation of the resurrection body.
Phantom, this is resurrection body, exactly.
Yes. Good.
Okay. Gabor is next.
Hey, Harry, I'm stuck and sort of given up. So maybe I'm doing something wrong, or I have unrealistic expectations about progress in time. So I've been gazing the sky for about 5 months, and very quickly I started to see these hundreds or thousands of white dots dancing everywhere. but that's how far I got. So every day I sat down and it was just the dots. I tried to fade in. I usually practice 10 minutes or 15, then I extend it to an hour, like 10 minutes practice, 5 minutes rest, 10 minutes practice, and I always have to start from the beginning, so I don't see anything in the beginning, and then slowly the dots come, but once the dots there, I see about 100 or 1,000 dancing. It's nothing happening. So eventually, after 5 months, I just got bored with it. Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, I have a question first. Have you only tried with the sky?
I started with the candle, and on the candle, one time I saw this bi dot appearing, like very slowly circling around the flame. And then I realized that, oh, when I was a child and I looked at the sky, I saw the same bi dots, but a lot more. So from there on, I moved on to the sky because that was much easier to.
Well, my advice is that try different things. Leave the sky for a while. Try something. I have had several of my, what you might say, students or whatever. They have had to change object. And then they say, oh, it's much easier with water or with trees or with flowers. And when I have workshops, I try different things. it seems that this is a little individual what is easy. When I say easy, I don't mean to get it easy, but that is possible.
And
so just try something else.
thank you. And time-wise, what kind of expectations? Is it like, should happen? So where I would want to get to is to actually something to happen that captures my attention. So is it like a month, a year, 10 years to get there? Like, do you have any, I mean, you must have met with people who practice this, so you must have some numbers in your head.
Very individual. It's like you asked me, I have a violin. How long will it take until I can play the violin?
No, just one simple song, just to get in. That's the question,
Some can do it in a month and some can never play a violin. That's how it is.
All right. Thank you.
Anders is next.
Hi, Are. How are you? My question is, I've been coming out from the kind of like from the throat area, this area, and I do the exercise where you said just come out like a meter or two, and just focus on that. And what happens to me a lot of times is that I start to feel energy rising up my spine, like a little cold energy coming up the spine, and I see a little blurry, but that's it. That's where I get, and I'm not sure if that's a sign of if I'm engaging the right body, and yeah, I don't know if you have anything to say around that.
Probably you do some mistake, but I'm not sure what. Do you have a spine injury?
No. I do feel a lot of energy rising up and down, like kind of, Kundalini. Sometimes it just kind of like rises up, and but yeah, when I'm engaging in these, I can feel like energy. Sometimes I can feel it in the teeth, and so I don't know if I'm, because I learned from you how to read the pulses, and that I can do. But when it comes to seeing, I cannot, I can connect to a person or a being and just read the different pulses with the two hands like you taught me. And
Yeah.
I can feel the different pulses, but when it comes to seeing, I kind of little blurry, but I've been trying for a while, and I just can't seem to get past, yeah. So that's, I don't know if there's anything that comes to your mind.
No, it seems that you involve the Kundalini also, and that is not supposed to do. So you have to try to push that out. And just be in the front, be in the, not from the back. That is how to do that is just try to say no, not the back, not the spine, just in front. Just say it.
Yeah.
Decide it.
Okay.
And try. Yes, I think that will help you actually.
Okay.
Because now you did it.
Yeah.
And now the spine was not acting with it. That's why I wondered if you had some spine damage, because when I watched you and you explained it, the spine interfered in what you said, and now it didn't.
Okay.
You have just to sever your spine
while doing this. Okay.
from the rest.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ari.
Thank you. Well, Elliot, well.
Hello. Hi, Ara.
Hi.
So I have two questions for you. First, do you think it makes much of a difference if you're laying down and fading or sitting up?
I think it's easier when you sit.
Okay.
But that, of course, is individual, so that is what I experience, what I think.
Well, the reason why I ask is that it's when I get up first thing in the morning, that seems to be a very open time. And well, especially in the winter, now that it's cold, it seems natural to just stay in bed and start fading. So I was just wondering if you had any comment on whether it would make a big difference or not.
I think it's individual. I cannot answer actually that. Personally, I don't think it is. I think it's easier for me to stand or sit.
Okay. Okay. So the second question is about what I'm perceiving when I'm fading. So usually I'm looking out a window and I'm looking through tree branches and seeing the sky in the distance. And I always feel myself pulled further. So I'm more focusing on the sky. And things do start to get, fuzzy and all that. But then it's like my perception moves from my eyes to my ears, and I keep wanting to hear something. And it's almost like I'm feeling like senses coming out because I don't see other than things starting to get fuzzy. I'm not seeing anything, but I'm feeling all these senses going out from my ears. And I'm just wondering what your input is on that. Like I'm trying to sense the environment more with my ears than with my eyes.
Yeah, follow that and see where that brings you. I don't think that is wrong at all. It's just another way of perceiving.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe even better than seeing.
Well, it's definitely different because when I'm seeing, it seems to be more localized in my head. And when I go out with my ears, it seems like it's a more holistic experience, I guess I'll say.
It might be. It might be. I cannot actually. It seems that I think this is just another way of doing it, and maybe even better way. But you have to follow it through and see, because our goal is to get to the door of the elements. As Rudolf Steiner said, you have to go through the doors. And you have to go through all doors. So we are on the way to the door, and this will bring you through the elemental world, either by the hearing or by the seeing or by any other sense. But we have to go consciously through the elemental world and meet the lower guardians there until we meet the threshold. That is our goal.
My experience using the vision, just like a lot of other people, I do feel some fear when things start changing, but I don't feel that with the hearing aspect. it's very non-threatening, I guess, at least at this point.
Well, try both, see what, and then you can teach me something next time. I would love to hear your experience.
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought that
Well,
you were.
one of the teachings of Vidar is that the new clairvoyance, as Rudolf Steiner said, that Vidar will bring the new clairvoyance, which is the time now, and the new clairvoyance is actually a clairvoyance audience. So maybe you are really onto something.
Okay, well, I guess I'll keep you posted.
Thank you.
So Petra is next.
Yeah, hi Are.
Hello.
Hello. I have a relatively new experience since the last weeks, and it's when I'm start fading, it pulls me in very, very fast, and I can't stop it. And it stops when I only can see geometrical figures, and I can't. I have no ability to manage it anymore. Yeah, this is a relatively new experience for me. And yeah, what can I do? Or what is it?
Well, as I told, I don't remember his name, I said you are halfway when you saw the quadrature. And at a certain, about halfway through the elemental world, we see this geometric geometric patterns. And I must also add that today, when I go through the elemental passage, it goes, I don't have, it's like very fast. So, and then you get to where you are or have been or where you have stopped earlier. So I think this is very, very positive what you say, and you have to then not let you stop by your concept of square, and you just don't bother about it. Just go on, and then after this halfway, it is the most difficult path, the most difficult because in the beginning you meet mostly Luciferic elemental beings. Then you meet the Ahrimanic, which is, of course, linked to the geometrical system. And then you come to the Asuric elemental beings, or the elemental path, the elemental area of the passageway to the door of the elements, and that is the Asuric, which is probably the most frightening experience you will have. But when you have gone through the Luciferic and the Ahrimanic, you shouldn't be that frightened, because then you know that they cannot actually hurt you.
Okay, thank you very much. I will try to go on.
Yes, I think you are exactly halfway now.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we have Timo again. Timo.
Hey, question about the journey. Like sometimes I felt like that as if there's some like opposition when trying to fade, as it's kind of hard to focus, as if something's kind of fighting against the effort. Is that like, do the kind of the elemental beings, like, do they have some kind of activities or tendencies like that to try to kind of affect the effort somehow.
Can you repeat the question?
So is there like active opposition to the actual act of trying to fade and go into the elemental world?
Yeah, you know, the adversarial forces, they don't want us to reach the door, especially the Ahrimanic, and probably also the Assyric, not so much the Luciferic. But they don't want us. They want actually to stop us. So they will put when you read about these other paths, for example, the Pilgrim's Progress or the Hymische Hochzeit and other paths, at that time, it was very, and also the initiation rites in old Egypt, they used very beautiful women, even in the Parsifal, you know, and the Graal's castle. All these beautiful women came. And that seems to have been a very common delusion, a very common thought in older times. Today, and maybe also a very lightly dressed, very beautiful woman in the 1700, 1800, 1600 was more stopped you more effective than today, where you can see these women almost on every second magazine. We are more used to it. Well, it seems that is a change in the for the adversarial forces, how they use women on this path. In the Egypt, you know, we were also led through a room with very, very beautiful women, and if you looked too much on them, you were thrown out. And today that is seem to the adversarial forces seem to have changed tactic today. So they don't use women as much, or they don't use it anymore. But they use they can use intellectual things, they can use fright, they can use, my point is that they are using different things, probably individual. I had a slightly talk with Andre before we started. Rude sexuality, for example, sexuality without love today, that is very, very much in many aspects of society. That is used by the Assyric forces to stop you. That is the last third of this path to the door of the elements. So we have to sort of renounce these we are in the desert for 40 days, and then we are tempted by the devil, as Christ was. 3 times he was tempted. And did not fall. And we must also try not to fall in the threefold temptation that meets us through the elemental world. That a temptation is threefold also. Yeah, that was a little, now I became a little religious in my...
Thank you.
Okay, so it's a hand from Gabor again.
Yeah, one short question, Ari. Optimal practice time length. I give you like two extremes. Should I practice fading for 8 hours all day long, or should I practice 10 minutes for 30 days? You know, but I'm sure the answer is somewhere in between.
Well, that is changing with practice and ability. When I try to remember how long I practiced when I was between 15 and 25, it was always half an hour, around half an hour. Now today, it is half a minute. I go in, observe, go out. Go in, pose a question, go out. I have this. I didn't do that when I was 20 then, or 15, 20. Then I went in and stayed there, and but that is like everything. If you are, let's say, you are to make drawing or something, and you have practiced your whole life, you can do it in 1 minute, and you have a very nice drawing. When we are in primary school, we have to sit 3 hours to make that drawing. So I think it has to do with practice. So you have to do what you feel is right again. It's individual.
So, but I heard 30 minutes, so I will try to go with that then.
Ask yourself, how long will I stay here?
And this 30 minutes you did without a break, like, or should I make breaks in between?
No, I did it without breaks.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, dear Ari, looks like we are complete. It's no questions to you.
Okay, then we will go a little on with exercises until next time. And the exercise and what I hear from all of you, what you have to continue is to understand the difference of the etheric and the elemental. That is so important. Study the discussion between Prokofiev and von Halle about the phantom or the resurrection body. There actually comes very clear their different views on this. Also, when you use to access the elemental body, you have to use more of the will than when you access the etheric body. When you access the astral body, you use your feelings. When you access the elemental body, you use your knowledge and thinking. When you access the elemental body, you have to use your will. That's why I mentioned this film I saw many, many years ago called Ghost. Swayze was one of the... and then he actually understood how he could use a will to move physical things from the spiritual. And that was actually very realistic. When I saw that film, I thought, this man who has written this, he could do this. He understood this. And that is one thing you have to go on with. And then it is not stop yourself. When you start to see movements, don't think movements, just be, you have to sort of to dumb yourself, be unintelligent. Just will and not thinking. It seems as soon as you think, you slip more over to the etheric. Only use your will. Don't think about what you see. Just continue. And that is also in the Norwegian folk stories about people who went into the elemental world and saw all these creatures, the troll and so on. They had to use the will. They had to be stubborn. They had to go on. So this is what you have to train, and not make concepts, not be clever, not think, this is what Are said. This is the movement. This is this. This is so. Don't think about that. Just continue. Am I clear? Yeah. Good. And I can clearly hear progress in many. 2 of you are halfway. And it's very important not to stop there. Because this, as Petra said, it's almost like you are there. You have no control. And that is one thing you can see in the elemental world. You go to where you want. When you first have gone a path, you don't have to go it again, walk it again. You are there. Shup. Okay, that is very important to know. When you have done the work there and done it, you don't have to do it again. You cannot do it again. It's impossible to do it again. Nothing repeats itself. So when you have been somewhere, you cannot go the same path. As Petra in a way said, you have no control. You are there immediately. And don't expect to go the same path again and again. Like that is a little like the last guy said. I do it again and again. You don't do it again. You always start from where you stopped last time. Maybe I haven't been clear about that before. But you have to start where you stopped. So in the case of Petra, you start with the squares. You don't go there again. That is, it seems that that is impossible. And also Rudolf Steiner said many times, nothing repeats itself in the spiritual world. Everything is a one-time event. Is it done? It is done. And then in a way it also is done for the humanity. So the more people who go there, the more easy it is for others to go there. Yes. So you just continue this exercises like that. Don't start where you stopped. Don't think too much. Use your will and not slip into the etheric body. If we were to go the path to the gate of the sun, which is described in the 19 lessons, then we should use the etheric body mostly. A little elemental, little astral, but mostly etheric. If we are to go to the door of the death, then we would use our astral body. And if we go to the door of the light, we will use our Christ consciousness. And what you also will see that when you have gone to one door, it will also be easier to go the other paths. It's like when you have once walked from Florida to Maine, then the next time, even if you want to go inland, it's easier, or with a boat. I mean, it's every time you do it, it's easier. Somebody have criticized me one time because I said easier. I said, this shall not be easy. But I beg to disagree. It's nothing wrong that a thing is easier. It's not necessary to always choose the most difficult. Okay.
Yes. Dear Ari, shall we bring another person for exercises, or it's not necessary?
Yes, it is actually very necessary. That's why I ask you to do that, because like one asked, is there an imagination or is it reality? Reality can be documented by the other person. So I think we should try to do that if you have still this other person there.
Well,
Harry,
I should call.
Harry
Should
say
call my
yes.
wife. So, dear friends, please bring your another person, spouse, perhaps some stranger, the street,
or dog or cat or whatever.
even cat. Okay. So, all right, let's take 20 seconds and we will be ready.
There I see a dog with Patty. You don't need it, but it is a sort of reassurance that you do something, that you actually move something, because the astral body is a reality. The etheric body is a reality. The elemental body is a reality. The material body is a reality. It is real structures, and that can be felt by others. Last time we tried three: the astral, the etheric, and the elemental. I didn't dare to use the I organization. But the easiest, I think, is the astral. Then comes the etheric. Then comes the elemental. Then, of course, the easiest is the material. That is just to lift the hand. And then the most difficult is the I organization, or the I organization. So let us start with the astral. You put your hand, or I said last time, put it on the knee. You can put it wherever you want. You can have your hand, and then you conjure up your feeling in this hand. The feeling. Last time I said either love or hate or something, but just try to conjure up the feeling. I don't define the feeling this time. Do that for about half a minute now. And then you slowly lift, not the material hand, that is so important. You lift the astral hand out of the material, out of the etheric, out of the elemental. And you hold it in front of you, and then you move it to touch something. Animal, friend, whatever. Or you can even try your other hand. I do that now. I touch my other hand with the astral, and you can feel that too. That was interesting for me because I have never tried to touch my other hand with the astral. That's it. But you really can feel that something is merging then in the other hand. But of course, it's maybe more difficult to feel because you have to move part of you and receive with another part, and then you have to sort of have a double action. Yes, did anybody manage a little that exercise? I think that half of you should have done that. Good, I see some thumbs up here and there. Thank you. So that is something you can train on if you read the New Age literature from the 70s, you know, astral traveling. That was very popular. That is how you can actually travel astrally. But we don't want to do that. That is only experiences, not really, doesn't give a future. So then we go to the next step. And that is look away from all feelings. When you read anthroposophic medicine, it is often written that the origin of diseases come from the astral body that interrupts the etheric body, creates disturbance in the etheric body, which is the health, sort of the life force that streams in the body in certain patterns. It do not give the structure. It gives the life to the structure. So now you try to feel this life in your hand as a living, and it is full of life. You feel it so strongly that if you cut it off and put it in the earth, it could actually grow. And now you try to feel this life for half a minute. And when you feel this life, you try to lift this life out. And I would think if you try to touch an animal with this or a plant, it would react. But try to touch either your other hand or a friend with this life hand. This I have used, for example, in wounds that doesn't grow. You can conjure up your life force in the hand and touch and heal a wound that doesn't grow. So this is the fundament of those who can do healing. They don't do healing with the astral body. They do healing with the etheric body. Yeah. And this feeling is very different from the first, from the astral feeling. Almost like more crippling or life. When life come back into the leg, when you have been sitting with crossed legs for half an hour, you know, when they are totally dead, there's no life in them. And you feel this crippling when it comes back. That can be a little compared to this feeling of touching with the etheric body. Today, I think we will do 4. Also, the eye. I don't reckon that anybody will succeed in that, but we will try. So the next step is that you could help yourself with the image of the structure of the hand, the anatomical image. Try to image for yourself, visualize the bones, the tendons, the muscles, the arteries, the veins, the nerves, the skin, all the structure of your hand. And do that for half a minute first. And when you have done that, you lift this hand out. And this hand, this elemental hand, is a very powerful hand. Very powerful, very strong. And then you can touch something with that hand and you feel a power almost. Like a power go out and touch something else. And I think that those who tell that when they are in life danger or crushed by a stone or a wagon, that they suddenly get immense powers and can lift it up. That is the elemental strength that they conjure up. And it's sort of difficult to describe the difference between the etheric and the elemental. Nobody have been totally able to say it is different. So I would like to hear if any of you this time could give a more description of the difference between the etheric and the elemental, if anybody can do that this time. I'm looking for a definition of this, a description of this. My own description is the etheric is life and the elemental is power. The astral is feeling, then etheric life, and then power. Anybody?
Here is a hand from Elise. Yeah, go ahead, Elise.
Thank you. My experience was with the etheric, and I've done a lot of sort of hands-on healing ever since I was quite young. So that was very familiar, and there's a kind of a tingling and a kind of a warmth. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can.
And then I've never tried the elemental hand, and that was really so completely different. It felt to me like the hand went and tried to strike things or push things away, like my laundry basket down the stairs. I mean, the hand just kind of went out and started to become active. Nothing actually happened in terms of the physical laundry basket, but I felt the hand behaving in a way that was unfamiliar to me. And then I also felt like I was just going to, I almost couldn't keep my eyes open. I thought I was going to fall asleep. It was bizarre. It was just like as if suddenly all of my life energy was gone. So they were very different.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's.
And as I just said in the beginning, my teacher in acupuncture, a Hungarian doctor, Yuri Benza, he could use his elemental body to move things. He really moved it physically. So that is an exercise. You can try to move a bottle cap or something on the table. Good. And this elemental body has, as I said, an enormous strength. It's very strong. It is, like you said, it can throw away things. It can. So then I will try the next step, which I haven't done in workshops before because I thought it was too difficult. But with this group, I will try it. And that is to go to the fourth gate, the door of light, where you have to move your I, Christ, I consciousness. So then what you then try to feel in the hand, the things you come closest to there is the warmth of the blood. So you try to really feel the warmth of the blood, not the structure of the veins and arteries, not the life. It's only the warmth, not the feeling, but the warmth in the blood. And this, yeah, do that for half a minute and then try to lift it. Can anybody say something about that? Elise, maybe, or are there anybody else?
I did experience something of a kind of, how do I put it? Felt very vertical, very expanded, and then it felt like a beam of light was emanating from the center of the hand, just out. I don't know. So what I experienced.
Well, train on these 4 ways. Most important for anthroposophists is to be aware of the difference between the etheric and the elemental, because that is a much bigger problem for anthroposophists than non-anthroposophists. Isn't it nice to have a problem? So, and when you are aware of this difference, then you go out, you can actually walk on all 4 paths. You can go out with all these 4 modalities. But that is maybe a little too much. So the intention for this workshop is to go the elemental path. So then we go with the elemental body out from our somewhere between the head and the heart, or you can try the heart. Somebody said that is easier. And you go then into something, you try different things, and you don't have to stay with the blue sky for 6 months. You can actually do different things each time if you want. Most would prefer the same thing, I guess, at least for a period of time. And then you must start where you stopped. Every time, start where you stopped the day before or the time before. Don't start to conceptualize what you experience. Oh yeah, that is, oh yeah, so no. Just go on. And then you will, at a certain time, conceptualize it, because we are human beings, intelligent human beings. Then we, at a certain point, will think about, oh, that is that. So it's very difficult to avoid it. But you have to be like children again. Unless you become like children, you will have no access to the spiritual world, said a very important person once. And that is to meet everything without concepts. You know, a child see a lion, oh, that's a big cat or whatever, they don't know what it is. Then you can go into it. You have to be like children, not intelligent grown-ups. And not be frightened or doubt, and then train like this till next time, which will be in 2 months. We can make an... I will get...
Ari, there is a question from Sue. Can we take it before scheduling?
Yeah.
Sue, are you ready to ask? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much. It's an experience. The first time I touched my husband's hand, the sense I was feeling was the warmth. I was really taken over by how warm his hands were, and then I felt
that was the astral, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the etheric was just so much bigger, thicker, lighter, but wider, all around the hand. And then with the elemental, I wasn't sure if I was still supposed to be touching him or experiencing my own hand, but I did touch his hand. And like Elise said, it started moving everywhere, and I touched my fireplace with the elemental hand and could manage it. Didn't burn me. And I touched his forehead. We haven't talked yet to see if he experienced that or not, but it was very investigative. But then when the eye, or feeling the eye within the blood, it was very familiar. We came together. There's this bright light. There's this
vertical, like someone else said. And I realized this is a very familiar experience with him. And I'm also remember, Steiner talked about the 12 senses, and that we actually meet the eye of the other through touch. And I'm a death worker, and how important it is to touch our beloved who has passed, make it real, but we also connect with their eye in this beautiful process of taking care of them in their death, which just occurred as we're talking right now.
Very good, very good. Thank you. We can, of course, make it even more complicated with the 12 senses. Some senses, according to Steiner, is connected to the astral, some to the etheric, some to the physical, which is elemental, some to the eye, 3 for each. Day-night division, you can really investigate these exercises we have described here also with the 12 senses. You have the 12 senses, you have the 4 paths, you have the 4 doors, you have the different bodies. You can really observe very many different connections, and also connections to, of course, the spiritual world, the I with Christ. Is a very important aspect of the I consciousness. I am. Well, thank you, Sue. I will get my agenda and we find a date.
Sure. Let's open our calendars. Ari, I've got a mail from Michael Frosch and a group from Vancouver, Canada. And they are asking if it's not going to be a first Saturday of the month. Okay. Because they have class lessons, and that's why Michael Frosch is not here. So if it's possible, so I have March on my calendar. Of course, 1st of March is a Saturday. So, but can we do on 8th of March?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little longer. It's about 2 months.
You want it Sunday and not Saturday, yes?
Well, Saturday, I think we have certain rhythm. I think Saturdays are good.
Yeah, we have done that up to now, haven't we?
Yeah. So, yeah, if it will be 2nd Saturday of March, which is 8th.
Yeah.
Is it available?
That is okay for me.
Okay, excellent. So let's do it.
Same time?
Same time. It will be 11 Central Time for US friends, and from Canada friends, and from Mexico friends. So it will be Central Time, 11 o'clock. And for Ari, so we have to check. I think it will be still 18 hours.
Yes, 6 o'clock. Yeah,
6 o'clock p.m. of Norway time.
That is Central European time.
Yeah. So, dear friends, so I'm doing recordings, and but I'm forming separate channel for practical exercises. So very soon, all Ari's workshops, and we have 12 of them, and 2 practical. They will be moved to separate YouTube channel. So and I'll give you a link, and those friends which are involved into Telegram, So if you didn't join us, so please do. It's a very good source. I mean, people are chatting and sharing experiences. So I will also, give you a link, invitation link for this Telegram channel, and I will send you a link to new YouTube account, YouTube channel for RS all 12 and workshops and to practice. All right. Okay, dear Ari, thank you so much for your time and for your experience, for your wisdom, and we will see you in 2 months and 1 week, March 8th. So,
Okay.
dear friends, please feel free to unmute
March
your...
8th of March, that is a Women's Day, isn't it?
Yes, it's International Women's Day. So, how nice.
Very good.
Yeah, please feel unmute your machines and say big thank you to Ari and your friends.
Thank
I'll
you,
see you
Ari.
next
Thank
time.
you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ari.
Bye.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
You
Bye.
too. You
Bye.
too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.